Hey, welcome to Grace in the Chaos, a podcast of real-life insights from parents of children with special needs. I'm Dr. Ryan Rush, and I'm joined by my friend and co-host, Dr. Chris Sneller. And yes, we both have PhDs, but more importantly, we are dads who live this out every day in our own homes. Hey, Chris.
Ryan, it is great to be with you today. Grace in Chaos allows us to share conversations with some amazing families. So I'm so looking forward to these conversations that we're going to have. And these families have done more than just survive. There's been days, there's been seasons when all they've wanted to do is survive. But they've thrived. And we get the opportunity to interview them, to learn lessons that they've learned as they've navigated life with a special needs child. So today we have the privilege of welcoming Jacob and Melissa Robinson to join us. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So we wanted to start today by just hearing a little bit about yourselves. So a few minutes of your personal biography and how you met.
Yeah, we want to know the romantic side of how you came together. Well, I'll start before that.
I'll let her start, then I'll tell the real story. So you can tell a little bit about your background.
Well, I actually grew up in Katy. I actually grew up going to Kingsland, was baptized here, and went to Katy High School. I then went to A&M, where I met Jacob freshman year. There's a debate about how we met. We met at fish camp.
What's fish camp? Explain that to us.
Fish camp. It's where Aggies go before, like the summer before you are a freshman, you go to get indoctrinated to all of our cultish ways.
It is that.
Yes.
It is
so we actually technically met there. I claim he doesn't remember me. He says of course now he says he does. But,
good answer. Of course you do.
But yes.
That's right.
But then we started, our paths crossed. We had mutual friends, and so we started dating second semester of freshman year, and we dated all the way through and got married after we both graduated. And then I did the accounting program there, so I was an accountant for a little while. And then we had kids, and then life kind of threw us some curveballs. And now I stay home. We have 3 kids. And
love it.
Yeah.
All right, so she grew up here in this area.
That's right.
What about you, Jacob?
Polar opposite. Born and raised all over. My dad ran hospital systems. And so I was born in Alabama, raised all over East Texas. I graduated high school in South Carolina, and then went to A&M. And I do remember meeting Melissa at fish camp.
Of course you do.
I've pointed out to her exactly where we've met. But we did. We met then, met multiple other times, and then started dating. Second semester, like she said. We realized the other day we've been together, started kind of dating, 16 years. And so it's been fun. But went through A&M, left school, didn't know what I wanted to do, landed here in Houston after we got married, did a whole host of things before figuring out the career journey I'm on now. But yeah, that's how we met. So I'm a kid that moved all over, and she did not. So we're opposites.
All right, landed here. So for those who are new to the podcast or watching from somewhere else, listening, we are all members of Kingsland Baptist Church in Katy, Texas, and together. And if you're not watching this on video, then you might not know. Melissa rolled her eyes in a big way when Jacob said he absolutely remembers, right, I mean, exactly where they were and what she said and all that kind of stuff. She's not buying what you're selling, Jacob. So when we talk about your life, I mean, the reason we're here is because we have a common bond. Where did your special needs story begin, guys?
Yeah. So our story is a little unique in the sense of our oldest, Pierce, was born May 26th of 2015. Happy, healthy little dude. Life progressed just normally. And life was great. And running around, walking, talking, doing the whole thing. And then February 4th of 2017, we woke him up unconscious in his crib. And then after a series of events, we rushed him to a little ER right outside the neighborhood. Then we rushed him to the Texas Children's West Campus here in Houston, and then ultimately down to the Med Center. What we would later learn is that when they put him on the ambulance to take him from the West Campus to the Med Center, the head EMT there was convinced that I would never see him alive again because I didn't get to ride in the ambulance. We get to the Med Center, and they diagnosed him with bacterial meningitis. We were there for a couple days, thought things were starting to get better. They had told us we'd be there 14 days, and we were like, 14 days seems like an eternity. What are we going to do for 14 days? And then 48 hours later, he got worse. We woke him up in the middle. Or he woke us up in the middle of the night. He was seizing. He seized for about 18 hours straight before they put him into a medically induced coma. And then he was in a coma for 12 days, and then we were in the hospital ultimately 75 days. So hindsight 2020, 14 would have been fantastic. And what came out of that really is, Pierce has a global traumatic brain injury. He's nonverbal now. He's epileptic, has a ton of seizures a day. He's deaf in both ears. He's in a wheelchair. Mental capacity, if we like to rate those things, I would put it on a 6 month to a year scale. Certain tasks are better than others. But our story is crazy. Quite literally overnight, we put him to bed on Friday night thinking he just had a normal kid cold or whatever. Maybe we had seen the pediatrician that day. And then the next morning, life changed, and it hasn't been the same since. We haven't heard him talk since. We, haven't interacted with him like we did before. But he's a happy, joyful dude. One of the happiest little kids I know. But that's our journey. Our journey is a little unique in the sense of, we didn't leave the hospital knowing something was different. We didn't have a diagnosis later on, but rather a pretty traumatic event that caused it.
So when we talk about the beginning of that, before we move on, Melissa, it's 75 days in the hospital?
75, yes.
So when in that process did you know, okay, this is changing life forever? Right away, or?
I think it was pretty apparent right away. It was the doctors with a brain injury, time will tell is what they tell you over and over and over again. But it was, I guess his deficits were, it was very apparent early on. And he made progress, which was, I think for me, the hardest part was kind of the not knowing. We knew he was probably not going to come out the exact same, but just that window, I guess the first few years of, what is this going to look like? The unknown was hard.
Yeah, and I think for sure, because we had benchmarked before we went in there. We knew what he was capable of doing before, and so I think this stark change of running around to watching him attempt to crawl again was those were the big milestones of just putting him on a hospital floor and we're trying to get him to move kind of deal. And so I think that was the hard part of, and also to her point of like the reason it became so apparent so fast of going, oh my goodness, like this is totally different than a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Ryan and I both, a part of our story is we've been blessed and challenged with a child with special needs. But, for us, that started early on. We're going to tell our story later, but for us, Daniel was diagnosed in utero with his challenges. So we knew from the very beginning, for you had the experience of, 2 years?
Yeah.
Of seeing Pierce grow and progress as a normal and healthy little boy. So I'm curious, as you have learned to live life with a child with special needs, what surprised you the most? Melissa, I'll go with you first.
I would say just as time has gone on, right after he first got sick, I would look at him and I would just see the old Pierce, and so it was like he didn't seem like my child, But as, it's been 7 years now, and so now when I see him, I see a happy, flappy, like now this is the Pierce that I know. And I think what has surprised me is just, like Jacob mentioned, he shows joy like no one I've seen, and so I think people are just drawn to him, and I think just the way that I'm so thankful for the way that like our culture now, I think are so much more accepting to people with disabilities because, you go up to school, everyone knows his name. The kid, we always say he's the most popular member of our family. We'll be out, walking the neighborhood and, hey, Pierce, I don't know who these people are, but they all know him. And I just, growing up, it wasn't like that in my school, and so I think when we realized after everything happened that, we were probably going to live with a special needs child, I just don't think I realized that he would be as embraced as well as he has been.
You say he expresses his joy. How does he express his joy?
Well, he has these eyes that everyone just comments on his eyes. We say we can see Jesus in him, but he flaps. He gets really flappy and a lot of noises.
A lot of noise. We call it seagulling because it sounds like a seagull
Yeah.
at the beach.
Okay.
And so that's always the best when you're in like either a quiet place or like the grocery store or something,
And you hear 'em.
and people don't know how to react to it. It's fun
Bless 'em.
watching them come around to like, oh, he's having a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
What surprised you most?
Yeah, I think if you take like spirituality out of it for a second, right? I think what surprised me was the X's and O's of the profound longevity
Right.
of everything, right?
It's not 6 months. It's not a year.
That's right.
It's not
I mean,
5 years.
Right. I think when you
the
have a
rest of your
kid, right? You have a kid. I think it's hey, how do you get them to 18? How do you get them out of the house?
right.
You know, and then if they come back home, great. Well, they're kind of on their own. You know, like whatever it may be. I think you have those parameters on you where you go as, oh my goodness, you have 18 Christmases with these kids before they're off.
Right.
And we're going. No, we got as long as we're alive. That many, you know, kind of deal. And so I think that, and I think also for us, it's been a huge blessing. But I can also understand how it can be not that, but how it impacts every aspect of your family, not just your immediate family, but your extended family, your friends. So I think the ripple effect that goes out again, because, you know, we were thrust into it. So I think it's this like, you know, not that learning early on makes it any easier or changes the ripple effect by any nature, but I think when you start going, you even within 2 years of life, you already form these dreams, these visions.
You have some different expectations.
That's right. The teams we're going to coach and the hunting we're going to do and that kind of stuff. And so now this abrupt change of plan. So I think the ripple effect has been the surprise.
Okay. So this leads straight into another question. It's a pretty big one. So I'm just going to throw it out there. What is the greatest lesson you feel like you've learned on your special needs journey that maybe you'd share with somebody else?
Man, biggest lesson. I would. Do you have something?
Well, for me, I would say, I mean, it's a lesson I'm still learning. I would
Sure.
not say I have
There you go.
completely learned
Yeah.
it. But I think just kind of like debunking this notion of like westernized that a good life is like a comfortable and easy life, you know, and that's what God wants to bless us, and that's how he's that's the way that he blesses people, is he just gives you what you want and makes things easy. Because that has not been the case with us. But I think that we've learned that, I mean, just because things are hard, it doesn't mean it's not still good. And there is a lot of, you know, I have grown closer. I think both of us are, like Jacob said, even our extended families, through everything that we've been through, we've all grown closer to the Lord and just, you know, had to depend on him more. And we try to see this as a way to bring him glory, to get to talk about, you know, to just easily talk about Jesus to people in a way that if everything had gone, you know, according to how we thought we wanted it to, you know, you kind of tend to think that you're under, you know, and also just kind of the illusion of like, I'm really not in control. You know,
Yes.
we think we are. We think if
Right.
I go to college and marry the right guy and have the kids and have the, you know, live in, you know, all those things, you think then you'll be happy, you know, but it, you know, God is sovereign and he has a plan for our life. So,
So the illusion of control.
yes.
You don't have that anymore. It's very
Release
clear.
the illusion of control. That's a good lesson.
That is a great lesson.
Golly.
Yeah.
It's a painful lesson, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It
A
is,
very painful one.
A work in progress.
Yeah, I was going to say a daily
Yeah.
lesson.
Yes,
Right.
for all of us.
Right.
Yeah. No, and I think kind of like echoing what you're saying, but maybe go a little bit further for me is this reality that, I mean, God's goodness. Again, I think we have this westernized idea of God's goodness are all these things that needed to be added to me.
Right.
Right. And God's goodness is the cross. If he never did
That's
anything
powerful.
else for us,
Right.
that's more than enough.
Right.
And
That's all we have.
That's all. That's all he ever
God
gave
has
us.
Demonstrate
was
his goodness in
eternity.
profound ways. Yes.
And resting in the idea or getting comfortable with the idea that this is God's plan.
Yeah.
That this is God's plan, that this is what he needed to happen to Pierce, and this needs to be our story, and this needs to be the song that we're supposed to sing. I think sitting in that and coming to terms with that, it's easy to say out loud, but sitting in there, and you know, we talk about in John all the time of saying, you know, why was this man blind? The sins of or his sins or his parents' sins? No, it's to show Jesus and to show the glory of
The
God.
glory of God,
right?
yeah.
And if that's the story that needs to be told, can my heart get okay with that? I think that's what I'm working through of going, hey, this is God's plan. You know, especially people come up and go, hey, did you try this therapy? Hey, did you try this? Hey, did you try this? Could you fix this? And yes, therapy is great, and you need to go to it, and you need to do it, no doubt. But what am I really trying to fix, right? And rather than sitting going, hey, we could do that. But I also think this might be God's plan for Pierce's life.
Wow. So it's not as though you want the best for Pierce's life. So you try therapies, right? We do everything we can for our kiddos, but we also have this opportunity to rest on the fact that everything's not riding on whatever because God's in control. And isn't it funny that I don't think any of us would have ever said in our lives, well, we're like name it, claim it Christians, like prosperity theology.
Right.
No one in this room, very few listening are going to be in that category. And yet,
The way
when
we
this
live and
happened,
think, when life gets hard.
all of us did that saying, wait just a second,
That's right.
God.
Right.
Don't you know
That's right.
that we made a
I don't
deal?
deserve this, God.
That's right.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
We all did it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. I tell people all the time, we've encountered prosperity gospel stuff in the past, and I say, man, you're always going to have a really awkward audience with me, right? Because it doesn't work on this side of the table. And so, yes, I think wrestling with that and then going, but I've asked you for these things. I've done these things. I've prayed for these things. And that God can still say, but I need it to be my plan.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you reflect back, go back to your 20, 21-year-old selves. You've met at fish camp, sort of.
I have hair.
You have hair,
Yes.
Jacob.
Yes.
And you could counsel, you could have coffee with your 20 or 22-year-old self in light of what you've wrestled with, in light of what you've learned. What would you tell your younger self?
You know what's funny about this question is the other night, so we have 3 kids, an 8-year-old, Pierce, 4-year-old, Annie, our daughter, and then our 6-month-old son, Spencer. And Spencer's finally big enough now and old enough now where we put him in a high chair. And he's in a high chair beside Pierce's special high chair that he has. And I, the other night at dinner, I laughed. I said, what would we have said if somebody came to us on our wedding day and said, hey, listen, come on, I'm going to show you the future. You're going to be able to take a picture of your 8-year-old and your 6-month-old in their high chairs together. And you're like, what do you mean in the high chair? You know, like all these kind of things. And 2 years ago, we were at summer camp, a great summer camp for families that have kids with disabilities and families with disabilities. We celebrated our 10-year anniversary there. And I said, what if you told the couple on our wedding day, hey, listen,
this is your future.
Your 10-year anniversary is going to be a special needs family camp.
Right.
And I think there would
I signed up for Italy. I signed up for France.
Exactly.
Exactly.
A lot of questions, right? A lot of questions. But what would I tell myself? I think I would tell myself, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. And because I think even in the darkest days, on the hardest days, and there are hard days, hard days, and very stressful, forward-thinking days, right? We've talked about this where, I think Satan does a great job of operating in the grays of our lives. The black and whites are the black and whites. We know what to do, what not to do, and we still stumble and fall in those categories. But I think the grays of coveting money because we want to take care of our special needs kid, right?
Yes.
I can quickly make those things my idols. So I think working through those things. But if we stop for a second and look back, if we actually do what the Israelites didn't do, right? We read throughout the scripture and we're like, why don't y'all just pay attention to what happened 2 weeks ago, right? You'll be fine. We have to do that, right? Of going, hey, listen, but think about all the people we've met. Think about the church we get to go to now. Think about the other facilities that we've got to know. Think about the parents that we've been able to meet. So I think that's God showing us, hey, listen, I see you. I'm right here with you. I'm going to put this person in your life. So keep walking. So I would tell myself to breathe and know that God's going to continue to provide, even on days when I don't feel like anything's being provided. If I just look back for a second.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. And similarly, I would just say, to take it day by day. I can remember thinking like, how am I gonna lift him? He was small when he got sick, so he was very easy to handle back then. But I'm like, how am I gonna handle him when he's 8? And now here he is, he's 8, and day by day, it doesn't happen overnight. You figure things out as it comes.
It's a matter of trusting in a unique way that we experience. I'm curious. This is maybe off topic, but when I think about your kiddos that you brought up, how do you think your kids, your typical children, are going to be different?
Good question.
Because of what you've discovered, the lessons you've learned, and where they're growing up.
Yeah. That's a loaded question because to answer that question correctly, you got to back up. And I was adamant after Pierce got sick that I didn't want to have another kid, and really dug my heels in and work through that with counselors and friends, and,
Right.
and really you go back to
Back to the control.
It's a control
Yeah.
problem,
Yeah.
right? If I don't have another kid can't get sick. It's a very simple math formula, right? And so working through that, what it was meeting siblings of other kids, or other meeting siblings that had
Right.
a special needs sibling,
Yeah.
and learning how their lives were different, right? And how it was hard. And how, hey, sometimes I was really frustrated, but a lot of times I was able to view life differently, and we can already see that in Annie. I think God has been very, very gracious to us and has wired her in a very unique way, where sometimes to a fault she thinks she's in charge of taking care of Pierce and Spencer.
She's definitely his second mother.
We have an argument in the morning who's going to feed him, and she wants to take that role. But
sweet
but
girl.
but I think even watching her interact with other special needs kids, it's normal for her. And so our prayer is that she has a very compassionate heart. And when life's adversities hit in our world today and age, and when things of middle school and high school seem like it's the utmost important, I hope there's a little sliver in her that says, hey, listen, it could be worse. It could be worse. And so that's our prayer for her.
And one of the interesting things is she's never really even asked, like, why doesn't Pierce talk? Why, she knows we've recently started telling her that he got sick, but
Gotcha.
she, to her, that's just her brother. That's all she's ever known of him. And so, there's times where he's being loud, and, in my mind, I'm like, be quiet. It's frustrating me, but to her, she that's just all she's known. That's Pierce. And so I think there's a beauty in that also.
That really is. So I think about girls that are grown. Lily's older sisters are 10 years older than her, 10 and 12. And so they had to sacrifice a lot, as you guys are saying, for their disabled sister. But they see people differently now.
Yep.
They see the world differently now. There is no doubt. And they probably see control a little differently than maybe we did at their age, thinking that we could be in control. So they don't have that same illusion, at least to that level that we did.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's a blessing.
It is.
Well, we have a little game show section of our
prizes?
podcast here.
The lightning
There's
round.
No prizes.
Okay,
It's like
right,
the
no
worst
prizes.
side of a game show. You had the pressure with
Okay.
no prizes.
No prizes.
But some game shows have a lightning round toward the end of the show. So Chris suggested we do the same on our podcast, and I
Indeed.
say that in part. I want to give Chris credit, but I also want to give him blame for what you're about to do.
That's great.
So
Bring
just
it
give
on.
us the first short response that comes to mind with
Okay.
these questions, all right?
No explanation needed.
Okay.
Right.
Just first quick response.
I mean, we might push back and ask for an
we
explanation.
might be curious. So we can talk more. They can. Sound good?
A lot of rules here. Okay.
Right.
Best book you've read recently for both of you.
Hillbilly Elegy.
Okay.
Fans First by Jesse Cole.
Okay. What is Fans First about?
Savannah Bananas, the baseball team.
Okay. I've not heard
Phenomenal
of
about
you.
No.
No.
I'm intrigued.
it's fantastic.
Okay.
Okay. Favorite food of your child for Pierce? What's his favorite food?
Hands down, potatoes of all sorts.
Potatoes.
French fries, tater tots, hash
Mashed
browns.
potatoes?
Mashed potatoes.
Of all kinds,
Twice baked
all
potatoes.
varieties.
Yes.
Okay.
Potatoes of any form.
Just
He's
potatoes.
currently on a hunger strike right now, imposed by himself until Melissa pulls out more hash browns. So we're in this battle right now
Yes,
with him.
he used to eat
Yeah.
Like hash browns, like just all
frozen
the time.
waffles daily for breakfast every morning for about the past 7 years. That's what he's had, and it's like an easy, very easy.
Like several
go-to
times
breakfast.
just in the morning or
Just in every morning, he eats like
Okay.
an Eggo waffle, basically. But I've recently introduced a hash brown, and now he will not eat the waffles
Until you
because
bust out
he's
the hash
like,
brown.
I know there's something better.
What?
I didn't know I could have
Yeah.
potatoes for breakfast.
So there is
Yeah.
no variety involved here.
No, it just
not for breakfast.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So you get a 3-hour break. No kids, no responsibility. What do you do?
3 hours.
3-hour break.
I think probably just go to dinner. Like I think like in like
Yeah, try to get a meal away. I
yeah
would say.
yeah, and not have to deal with potatoes. And negotiating with a 4-year-old. So I think that yeah. We
Okay.
just go to dinner.
So I want to hear something that Pierce is fascinated by or unique skill that he has.
Okay, well, this is not a quick answer. I'm gonna try my best to tell you quick.
No.
It takes its context.
Okay.
Okay.
If you come to my house, there is a 98% chance we're going to be hanging out in my bathroom. And the reason we're going to hang
Okay.
out in my bathroom is because Pierce is obsessed with my shoes. And so he will go in my closet. He will get all my shoes. He will hold them up. And for those that are listening, he slaps the side of the shoe until he's satisfied with whatever. Then he throws it into the bathtub.
Okay.
He will do that for hours. And so when we have people over, a lot of times we just go and sit in the bathroom.
All right.
And
Get
we
real
can hang
close
out
real
there
fast.
in the bathroom. So if you come to my house, you are probably going to hang out in my bathroom with us throwing
So
shoes.
when he comes over to our house, should I get my shoes
Just
and my
you could have a
bathtub ready?
bucket of shoes ready.
Yeah, bunch of- we've had friends that will literally just
Okay.
send him men's dress shoes.
All right.
For a present, and he will slap it and throw
Tap,
it.
tap, tap,
Yep.
throw.
Yep.
That is fantastic.
Does he keep tapping until the sound that he wants to hear that he gets that sound?
No
or?
clue.
No
It
clue.
varies on shoe. Sometimes it's long. Sometimes it's like two slaps. There's really no rhyme or
Okay.
reason to it.
So
Yeah.
shoes and bathtubs. Any other unique gifts or fascinations that he has right now?
Loves garbage trucks. He always
Garbage
has.
trucks.
That's something
Always
he
has.
loved before he got sick, and I think he will love till the day he dies. He
Love it.
loves them.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yes.
My son Daniel had this plastic dump truck, this Tonka dump truck that the day that we sold it in a garage sale, I was so sad because that was like the symbol of his childhood.
Yep.
Soundtrack that's on repeat in your car.
Well, my car is a kid car, so it's a battle between Disney princess songs or
Okay.
there's a garbage truck song that we have
Oh,
probably
okay.
heard
Yeah.
Who
millions
sings
of times.
this garbage truck song? I'm not familiar with
It's
this.
just some YouTube song.
I'm not
that,
sure.
The
There are-
nice thing about Pierce is, so
Wow.
he has a cochlear implant, and the iPad can stream into his cochlear implant.
There you go.
So we don't have to listen to the song anymore. Praise the Lord.
I feel as though the garbage truck song is going to need to be in the show notes. Once
That is
we
Yes.
discover this.
That's right. And we have pre-downloaded it multiple times in case YouTube ever takes it off.
yes.
We've got backstops upon backstops.
Yeah, that would be bad.
It would be a
It
bad
is.
day.
It's okay. It'd be like the hash brown day.
It would be
Yeah,
a very
well-
bad day. Very bad
Right.
day.
Revolt.
Yes. And if Annie's in my car, she always makes me play "Thunder" by Imagine Dragons. I don't know why that turned into her song.
Okay.
Okay.
But yeah,
I respect it.
That's what she likes.
Your favorite city in the world where you thought you might go for your 10th anniversary if things had been different?
We were very blessed that we had some all grandparents on deck helped actually achieve that dream. We both love New York City. And
New York
so
City.
we were able to go there and watch the U.S. Open tennis tournament. And so if we have any place we could go, it's New York City.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't want to live there. You just want to visit.
No, there's always like
I'm actually convinced Pierce would love it there
Yeah,
because
okay.
he loved like the sirens and like just all
People,
the
cars.
action. Yeah,
It is
just
an
walk
amazing
him up
place.
and down the street.
If we do ever get Annie and Spencer out of the house one day, we may do a hiatus where we live up there for a little bit. and see how
Right.
it is.
Mhm.
We'll
Okay.
see. We'll see how it goes.
Right. I'm going to get some ugly email from somebody from New
That
York.
loves New
How
York.
dare you? And you just need to know. We've enjoyed it as well. And medically, it's been important in our journey for a period of time. We spent a lot of, once a quarter up there for a little while with a neurologist. Yeah.
Wow.
So there you go. That's not what you want to do when you go.
I was about to say, yes, Broadway's a little bit different than neurology appointments. But
And no
yes.
joke, our neurologist had his office on 34th Street. So Miracle
Right
on
there.
34th Street.
go.
There you go. You
Yay.
can't
I
love
can't
that.
beat that.
I like it.
Okay, last lightning round question. What is a future dream? A future dream that you have for Pierce? I know it's sometimes hard to think about the future in this way, but what's a dream you have for him?
Yeah, I think right. We've talked about the future a bunch. I think Pierce to be able to be content and happy, and that we can provide that, and that we can continue to do things as family. I think we'll try our best to do those make those memories and that kind of stuff. But as long as Pierce is content and happy, wherever that is, whether it's our house, another facility, whatever it is, content and happy, that's our dream. He's a simple guy. He lives life the way we all should live life.
Right.
He doesn't see color, doesn't see income, doesn't see anything like that. So as long as he's content and happy, we're happy.
Yeah.
Anything to add to that?
No, I think that's the goal.
Content and happy. You can't end on any better idea than that. That we could live contented lives, and so Pierce can lead the way. But it goes back to the one lesson that we've learned today from the Robinsons, among others, is that we're not in control.
That's right.
And something amazing happens, really freeing happens when we recognize that and we acknowledge it and we just throw up our hands and say, okay, I'm not in control, and I'm going to let the Lord do that, and I'm just going to follow him. So what a lesson for all of us. Listen, what a joy to be with you guys today. We had a good time.
Great
Yeah,
time.
work.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for your story.
This podcast is brought to you by empoweredhomes.com. There's tons of free resources available for your family if you want to check them out. Thousands of resources like that, including a number for special needs families. So thank you so much for listening to Grace in the Chaos. We'll see you next time.
Yes, thanks for being with us.